is perfect. We're going to be recognizing foster children. And what an incredible gift for a family to open their hearts and their homes for foster children. We're going to be hearing in a few minutes from ABAC students, our Rural Studies program, who have worked with us and are working with us in our urban redevelopment and capturing the essence of neighborhoods and families and people and the things that are so important to a community. So it's all, I'm a firm believer that things don't happen just for a reason.
Right.
There's an order to things. And so your being here this evening is such an honor for me. You're just someone that I admire greatly. I know this council admires you greatly. The work that you've done, not only in your research and your professional career, but in your civic career and all the hours and hours that you've both given to this community. So we just want to salute you and say thank you. So how about a round of applause for He's a special, special man. And if you have not had the opportunity to spend time with Dr. Lewis, get this book. And where can we, how can we order this?
You can order it from Acres USDA, just like acre of land, acresusa.com.
Okay. This is very important, and I'm honored to accept this on behalf of the city, and we will make sure that this is available. We have an archive room upstairs that is full of information. It's recognitions of our community and history of our community and important documents, and this is going to be an important part of that. So thank you for that, and thank you for being here this evening. I remember one time you were speaking, and my grandfather had a poem he always shared with us about it was about this, be a stepping stone. I can't remember the name of the poem. So you always do such a great job. I remember you shared that one time, and I was so, be thinking about my grandfather, and you shared that poem, and I just felt like he was with me. And so again, for you to share the poem about the children with everything that we're talking about and everything that we're doing in this community, I think that it's just very appropriate. So thank you for that. Thank you very much. He's a special person, isn't he, Johnny Terrell? He is a special man. All right. The next folks I'd like to call up, there are two very important people that are here with us this afternoon. We have a proclamation for our foster care awareness, and then we're going to recognize our city clerks, and we're going to call Jana Barfield, if you'll come up. And Jana, do you have some volunteers and some friends you'd like to bring with you? Okay, if you will all come up. I got to meet these young people here earlier. We had a good time out in the lobby, didn't we? We talked about all kinds of cool stuff. So it's nice to see all of you. Let's see, let me get my proclamation out here. And I'm going to read the proclamation, and then I'll sign it, and then I'll present this to you. Okay. And my mask is fogging up my glasses. So if y'all are okay, I'm going to take that off so I can read this, and maybe you can understand me. All right. For the proclamation, this is for Foster Care and Foster Family Recognition Month. Whereas families are the primary source of love, identity, self-esteem, and support for children and youth, and they are the foundation of our communities. And foster parents play an important role in supporting biological parents and helping them enhance their relationship with their children to achieve family stability and maintain family connections in support of family reunification. Dedicated foster families sometimes adopt foster children, resulting in a greater need for more foster families. There are over 423,000 youth in foster care across our nation, and foster families open their homes to provide a stable, nurturing environment for our youth to thrive. And currently, Tift County has approximately 75 children in foster care, and 23 families are certified to provide caring, safe, and nurturing homes for those in foster care. And we all have a responsibility as individuals, neighbors, community members, and residents recognize that all children need love, support, security, and a place to call home. And during National Foster Care Month, we celebrate all those who have invited a child, I'm getting a little emotional, invited a child in need into their hearts and homes, and express our profound appreciation for those who make foster care possible. And now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, Mayor Julie Smith, on behalf of the City of Tifton, hereby proclaim May 2021 as Foster Care and Foster Family Recognition Month and urge all residents to volunteer their time and their talents on behalf of children in foster care and to support and recognize the commitment of foster families, community volunteers, CASA, nonprofits, and professional staff who work tirelessly to ensure that these children experience a fulfilling life. So that is your proclamation. I'm going to sign it and make it official now. And we just want to thank you, Jana, for the work that you all do. It's like Joe said, it's about families, it's about children, it's about providing that nurturing environment, and it does take a village. Do you want to share any news or any information with us? If you have anything you'd like to share, you're certainly welcome to.
For helping us to bring awareness and acknowledging the children who are here in our community that are in the foster care system, and all the foster families who are loving and taking on these children, opening their hearts. So again, thank you guys so much for doing this.
I'm going to present this proclamation to you, and it's a good-looking group of people. Can we all get a picture? Would it be okay if we got a picture? Okay. All right, set this down.
I'll let y'all get in the front. Little ones.
Oh, I better get my mask. I'll be glad when these things go away. Okay. Got it? Did y'all smile behind your mask? Okay. Thank you. All right. Now I would like to invite two of my favorite people in the whole wide world to come and join us here at Podium. Miss Jessica White. You'll come up, and Miss Jocelyn Hall. I know that heat makes it look real easy to run a city. And that things just get done and things just happen, but that's not really the way it is. There are two people in this organization that work tirelessly to make sure that we're on task, to make sure that we abide by what we're supposed to do, to make sure that records are kept, to make sure that order is kept within the organization, the City of Tifton. And these two ladies do that. And we're very thankful for you. So I want to read a proclamation concerning Municipal Clerks Week. Take this back. Yay! That's when the fireworks are supposed to start. The confetti cannon. All right. Our proclamation for the 52nd Annual Municipal Clerks Week says, whereas the office of the municipal clerk is a time-honored and vital part of local governments throughout the world and is the oldest position among public servants, and the office of the municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of governments at other levels, and professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. And the municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and the community. And municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the position through participation in education programs, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state and international professional organizations, and it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments and contributions of the office of the municipal clerk, and now therefore I, Julie Smith, Mayor of the City of Tifton, hereby recognize the week of May the 2nd through May the 8th as Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our clerk, Jessica White, and our assistant clerk, Jocelyn Polk, to all the municipal clerks for the vital service they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. So ladies, thank you for your service, and I'm going to sign this and make this official for you.
So I know you know how important our files and documents and legal proceedings are each and every meeting on the month, whether it's archived or whether it's current. But Jessica does an extremely good job with details on that, and she's a master clerk, so has a lot of experience, so it doesn't come very easy, and it takes a lot of time. So Jessica, thank you for what you do. And Jocelyn was promoted recently, and she's training to be Jessica's backup, and looking forward to some training too. So both these ladies are extremely talented and do a great job for the city. So thank you for what you do. Thank you.
All right, we have another presentation that I'm very excited to hear. Bruce, do you want to introduce our guest? I think that would be appropriate if you don't mind. I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but you've worked with our guest this evening, so give us a little information and background, and we'll wait to hear.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Mayor, and council, members of the council. We are delighted to have a very short but informative presentation that'll be given to us by two classes of the Rural Studies program at ABAC. Over the last 2 years, we began to work with Dr. Eric Larson, who will come up in just a second and give you an ounce of background. But the COVID pandemic shut everything down last year when we were working on this, so we have a second round of students, and they've done a wonderful job of trying to look at community development aspects, but I'm going to let Dr. Larson tell you all about that, but we're delighted to have him with us.
Good evening. It's good to be back. I appreciate the opportunity for letting me, my students, come and present what they've been working on during the semester. That is not the slide that I'm looking for, even though it's a timely message, right?
Yes.
Only you can prevent forest fires. So. As was mentioned, I am Dr. Eric Larson. I work at ABAC within the Rural Studies program. I specifically teach the Rural Community Development courses. And I've been working on developing a program that allows real-world application of rural community development principles within the Tifton community. I believe it's an important aspect of connecting academia and skills learned in the classroom out into the real world. And I think they agree. They might grumble about it every once in a while, but they do a great job. I would put my students up against any students in the department at ABAC and know that the impact that they have in actuality within the Tifton community is arguably beyond any other set of students on campus. Okay. We've also, again, partnered with the Urban Redevelopment Authority on the South Tifton revitalization, redevelopment effort, which is where most of these projects are centered. So, next slide, please. This semester we underwent and took on 7 different projects. Some of them are related. So we have a community gardens project, and there were 2 projects that were involved there. Cultural heritage projects, and there were 2 groups working within that. We had the Fullwood Park Visitor Use Survey, the South Tifton Planning Project, which is built around design aspects within the South Tifton development effort, and then a group that was working on the memorialization and within the youth activity center down in the South Tifton area, memorializing and recognizing the tragedy that was from the school bus accident that took place and was earlier, I believe in April or March, had a small memorial. So they're building on that and trying to incorporate that story as an important part of the history of that area within that. So all these projects play an extremely important role within the South Tifton development effort, or within the concept of community development, sense of place, which was brought up. And just in terms, so I can put in as far as value added, based on the approximate hours of all these projects. If you, as a city, were to pay a contract rate for the hours that they've put in, just for this semester, it would be somewhere between $7,000 and $10,000. on a contract rate to gather the information and get the ball rolling on many of these projects, many of which still with the restrictions from COVID met a number of difficulties and barriers in which many of the students came up with some imaginative workarounds and pushed forward, even though there were a number of barriers preventing that. So with that, I'm going to turn the time over to them to start presenting. I'll take a quick moment just to introduce them individually. Okay, so I have Jace Pless, Jordan Pittman, Brittany Carlock, Jordan Jones, I have Natalie Meeks, and Patrick Tucker. All have been doing an excellent job, and I have a couple other students here that are visiting that won't be presenting, but they'll be the presenters for today, and we'll work through. They have about 3 minutes each, so it shouldn't take all that long. In fact, I probably took up more time than I should have. So I'll turn the time over there. So, next slide.
Well, good evening, Mayor, Council, and guests. Thank y'all for letting me have the opportunity to speak today. I'll be presenting both community garden projects. So next slide, please. The goals. So for the Tifton Community Garden with the inventory, the goal was to gather information about the variety of community gardens and use the information to create a reference for current and future community gardens in Tifton. And for the South Tifton Learning Garden, it was to develop a learning educational garden which supports South Tifton residents. Next slide, please. So the plan. So for community garden inventory, that was the group that I was a part of. The goal that we were trying to do with our plan was to collect information on community gardens in general, in the sense of what are community gardens, how they benefit community. Our mayor talked about it really well. The big thing here is about people, building people bonds, community. So understanding how that actually impacts our community was important in our project, as well as collecting information about existing gardens that are already located in Tifton, as well as looking into other areas throughout the state of Georgia, looking at their community gardens and understanding what makes them work for their communities. And finally, we interview individuals who are involved with our current community gardens in the area, so we have a good understanding of knowing how many community gardens we already have in the area and seeing are they effective at addressing the issues that need to be addressed. So for the Learning Educational Garden, their plan was to complete designs plan for learning gardens in South Tifton. So they created educational lesson plans for the garden and developed a list of potential partners to support and maintain the garden as well. And finally, it was to recognize and address the food desert issue that is in South Tifton. Next slide, please. So the plans for the learning garden itself. The plan was to initially have 3 raised beds with various vegetables and herbs. And there will also be educational signs that will allow community members to learn about the garden, so it can be educational as well as providing and addressing those food droughts as well. The location would be in South Tifton, and it will be used to educate the young people and students of the local elementary schools. And the garden will have lesson plans for all ages. Next slide, please. So the execution and future tasks. So for community garden inventory, we hope that we use the research and you guys can hopefully use it as a foundation to identify the needs of current and community gardens, and use that research as well as to provide best practices or lessons learned that can be applied to current and future community gardens in Tifton as well as using the research to expand on current inventory, including more scientific studies, looking at the soil composition, seeing what our soil is best used for, which vegetables we can grow best with these gardens so they can be as effective as possible. And promotion, which affects around current and future community gardens, which on the sense of letting people know these community gardens are here. I know that food droughts are especially a huge issue. So letting people, it's one thing to have these built and put funding into it, but if nobody knows about it, then that's honestly a waste of money. So understanding and letting people know about it. And the learning educational garden, just recruiting potential outside organizations to help and maintain the garden. Make sure once we build these to have people to come in and make sure they stay afloat. For example, I know ABAC's new elementary ag education program will be a great assistance, and you can reach out to them for some help. The garden would need to have a set location in South Tifton and develop future design plans for garden expansion and development, and to work with South Tifton residents to promote use of the garden. As I mentioned before, we can have all these places in place, but if the residents in South Tifton don't use it, then it's just sitting there. So actually getting the people involved, which it can build community as well. You know, have a thing where maybe once a week people come by and pick stuff out of the garden. That could be a time when, especially once COVID is over, it can really build morale. So next slide, please. And that is for me. That's for all I have. Thank you guys. I really, really appreciate giving me the honor to talk today. And I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good job.
Good afternoon. I am Natalie Meeks. I'm part of both cultural and heritage groups. Fortunately, I was able to be a part of the group when Dr. Larson and Bruce Green actually introduced this to us. It has been a journey to learn the history of South Tifton. You can go to the next slide. We learned a lot of things from the first Black-owned barber shop. I can't exactly remember where this was. I'm pretty sure it was in the old dentist office. All of us have learned so much about Tifton because most of us are not from here. The history there is just absolutely amazing, and we really want to preserve that with this group. Part of our group one group was to gather the stories. We did have some problems with gathering the stories due to COVID. A lot of people don't like to answer phone calls that they don't really know, or just never found the time to call us back. We think this would be a really good opportunity once COVID is over to set a time and place for people to come in with their pictures and their stories and really just talk face to face. I know a lot of the older generation prefers to tell their stories that way, and I love hearing them that way. It's absolutely amazing. You can go to the next slide. All of these are just pictures. This was one of the first Black African-American owned funeral homes. We found, I'm not really sure who found this one in the group. It's, not really sure where it's at in South Tifton, I'm so sorry. And then with the second group, it was the exhibit group. And we want to put it in a place in South Tifton so that way it doesn't leave its area, it stays in the history. We also found that it was a little hard because of the other group not being able to give us information. All we could really find was that of the public information, which anybody can find. We wanted the true history of people who had lived there and who grew up there. You can go to the next slide. This is the Golden Building. I'm pretty sure what it was. I want to say it's still standing. I'm not 100. Okay. I'm still new to downtown Tifton. It's an absolutely gorgeous building. I love the old architecture here, and we would just want to, with South Tifton, preserve that too, just so they can see what buildings might not be standing there and what are still there to stand. You can go to the next slide. And this is the old dentist office, as I was saying. I'm pretty sure it was the first African-American owned dentist office also. We, I think we found this picture when the first group started, and it's just, honestly, it's really amazing. Like I said, we have problems with COVID, and I think when COVID is over, to bring those people in from from the town itself, to just preserve the history, to be able to scan in the pictures, and I just think if we could get together and make an exhibit, it would be amazing to show the rest of Tifton what history that we have here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Brittany Carlock. I'm going to be talking about the South Tifton Planning Project, and it was a development project just focusing on the area of South Tifton because we've had a lot of development in downtown, and we don't want anybody to feel like they're being left out. You can go to the next one. Okay, the goals of our group were, we were working with the Citizens Institute for Rural Design, and we had a partnership between the National Endowment for the Arts and Housing Assistance Council. Our original plan was to gather the information to apply for the grant / workshop. We did start doing that. We found out the requirements and everything for our area. We were not allowed, or we were not able to apply for that. I'm not really 100% sure why, but we did gather all the information that we needed. So next year, when that grant or other grants similar to that come around, we will have the opportunity to do so. This is going to allow South Tifton residents an opportunity to have their voice heard regarding the planning and development of South Tifton, with the emphasis on design. We just want to make
the survey. We distributed it online, and we went out in the community. Basically, we just got demographic data such as the length of residence in Tifton, their age, and we got opinions on Fullwood Park and how often our survey takers use the park, and we got opinions on what additions or changes that they would make to the park. So we then use this information to determine that the most popular responses were regarding improving the park.
Next slide, please. All right, and so the current recommended changes for the project, or the park that we gathered, were playgrounds could be updated and clean, bigger trash cans, as well as more placed throughout the park, bathrooms remodeled, including new sinks, new toilets, new doors and repainted walls, the stage repainted, parking lines repainted, problem areas within the sidewalk repaved, possibly extended park hours for teenagers, and more grilling areas throughout the park, as well as picnic pavilions updated, which would be made bigger. And that is all for us. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm Patrick Tucker. Oh, sorry. Okay. I'm Patrick Tucker again, and this is Jordan Jones. I'm sorry. Next slide, please. Okay, so the school bus tragedy took place in Tifton in 1959 when a school bus overcrowded with students overturned on a dirt road and went into a pond. This happened at Matt Wilson School in South Tifton, and unfortunately 9 students passed away as a result. This was a black school, and due to segregation and racism, and the bus was overcrowded, and there were a lot of kids that were sitting in other children's laps. So this tragedy, the Tifton Gazette said it was mentioned on NBC and CBS News and reports, and on the radio by Mutual Broadcasting. There were 4 investigations in the days after the accident by various agencies. None of these found the driver, Doyer Jones, at fault, and upon further inspection, the bus was found to need repair. The tragedy was the basis for many new rules in Georgia regarding school bus transport. Next slide, please.
So, like Patrick said, my name is Jordan Jones, and our goals for the project was to find more information about the tragedy itself, and to incorporate ways to memorialize the heroes and the victims at the new Youth Development Center. So our group, each of us in the group came up with different ideas, and some of them included an interactive mural, engraved benches, plaques, and TV screens throughout the building playing the story. Our group's favorite option was the interactive mural, and we actually have it sketched by Dr. Larson's wife, Miss Leslie Larson, and we have the sketch over there, and if you'll go to the next slide, I have it on the screen as well. And then Miss Larson also painted a portion of what the interactive mural will look like. So in the story, in the beginning of the mural, she's planting sunflowers and the bus is going along and it's a happy and sunny day. And then when the accident happens, it's when the storm is coming and it's a rainy, dark day. And then it goes back and it's a sunny day again. And 9 of the sunflowers represent the 9 children that died that day. And then the remainder of the sunflowers will have mirrors in them. So it's an interactive mural. The kids can see themselves. And then there will be some quotes around them as well to inspire children and just to be fun as well. So then if you'll go to the next slide, we also have the painting up there as well. So if you'll go to the next slide, please. So our future tasks and impacts for this project. So we created a survey to ask community members and people on the advisory board what their favorite option to memorialize it would be. And we don't have very many responses to the survey as well. As of 11 o'clock this morning, I had 12 responses to the survey.
but so far the mural is in the lead for the favorite, and the plaque on the benches are the second favorite option. And participants believe that the mural and the plaques will help educate the youth at the Youth Development Center. So in the future, like the children, like I said, the children who attend the Youth Development Center will gain an understanding of the tragedy, and it's a great way for the Tifton community to pay respect to the victims and the heroes in a creative way. And that's all I've got. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Wow, very impressive. And I'm telling you, the partnership between the City of Tifton, our Urban Redevelopment Agency, and ABAC that's incredible work. Thank you so much for providing this information for us, Dr. Larson. Thank you for this. I mean, this is exactly when we began to talk about the urban redevelopment and how this was going to impact, and Councilman Terrell, this is your district, how this was going to impact our community and your neighborhood. This is exactly what we had in mind, but I don't think we knew to express that. We didn't know how to capture this. So this really gives us an incredible foundation to build upon. And so we're just thrilled to have all of you here and your perspective and your input on what we can do and where we can go and how we can make Tifton even better. And every neighborhood is important. Yes, you may. Yes, you may.
This is inspiring. Very
Yes.
inspiring. You know, we see a lot of programs being proposed for revitalization of rural communities that we have just deteriorating throughout South Georgia.
Right.
But unless we have this kind of program where we can recapture the sense of place and the sense of identity, community by community, if it's going to be successfully sustained and re-identified, it's got to be through understanding the sense of place and the uniqueness of each community and built
Absolutely.
around that.
Yes.
It is only through these programs, one by one, that we can have this. And I salute you, because that's our last best hope. Otherwise, we sentence our future generation to 1,000 years of darkness.
Yes, I'm telling you, it's impressive work. Bruce, do you want to, is there anything you'd like to add? I know we have two board members here from our urban redevelopment. We have Abby and MJ.
That's right.
And again, Councilman Terrell, this is your district. It's just such an important
Yeah,
thing.
just a thank you to all of these students who put in a lot of hours, and you heard some of the barriers that they encountered just from, people not knowing, but what we're seeing, and I talked to our city manager the other day, this starts the dialogue.
Right.
And I had lunch with one of our advisory board members today, and people are tuning into it. I think we're going to see construction start in another month, but there are things behind the scenes that we're doing, and thank you for the incredible work and understanding that these students had and got into. So thanks to this council for supporting our urban redevelopment program, and we just look forward to great things to come.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for what you've done. The information you provided so far is invaluable, and I know we'll continue to work with you and work on this. So again, Dr. Larson, thank you. Any other comments from fellow council members or?
Really good. We appreciate it.
Yeah, very much so.
You guys did a really, really great job. It gives us a good chance to look at some things in a different way from you guys' aspect and from the research that you've done. Thank you, Dr. Larson, for stepping in. I know you were meeting with us early on about it, and I know we had some troublesome time with obviously COVID-19, but I just like the dedication that you followed through with it, and you did what you could do to present us something as well. And it was all great, and we're all going to dive in and use what you guys presented to us.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, we are now under new business on our workshop agenda, and I'm going to call on our police chief, Steve Hyman. Where's Steve? There he is. Steve Hyman, if you'll come to us. We want to talk about the school safety zone and speed enforcement program.
Yes, ma'am. Mayor, council, a couple of weeks ago, I was visited by Blue Line Solutions. They have a speed photo enforcement company, and he was talking about doing the speed study in the school zones, and And as we got to talking about it, then he and I got out and we rode around and I showed him our school zones and all that. And as we watched it, so then during the week of March the 8th through the 21st of 2021 and March the 12th, he done a speed zone study inside the speed, Charles Spencer School, Matt Wilson, Lynn Lastinger, 8th Street, and Northside. And the results are sort of surprising. Well, not surprising, but I guess alarming to me.
Yeah, alarming, that's a good
Yeah.
word.
Of course, we do traffic enforcement inside the school zones, but like 20th Street is one of our busiest school zones, and also it is a little bit harder to do because of the traffic and places to get in and out of traffic. Like in Charles Spencer, during that time, they had 12,989 cars that came through there, and 1,130 of them were speeding. 716 was between 11 and 14 mile an hour. 339 was between 5 and 20 mile per hour. And then we had 75 of them over 21 mile an hour.
Oh, my word.
And then you got Matt Wilson, another zone we worked. 6,000 cars went through there. 174 were violating the speed. 140 of them between 11 and 14 mile an hour. 15 to 20 mile an hour was 27, and then they're on 17th Street. You know, you had 21 of them that were, 7 of them that was doing more than 21 mile an hour. Lynn Lastinger School, 2,703 cars was counted coming through there. 116 were in violation, 79 from 11 to 14 mile an hour, 33 from 15 to 20 mile an hour, and 4 was 21 mile an hour, over 21 mile an hour. 8th Street, we had 32,916, and of that, we had 5,031 violations, which 2,967 were between 11 and 14, 1,849 was between 15 to 20, and 215 of them was 21 plus. North side, there on 20th Street, we had 29,834 cars that went through there during that week. 4,084 were in violation of the speed, which resulted in 2,526 from 11 to 14, 1,413 from 15 to 20 mile per hour, and 142 at 21 mile an hour plus. The way the camera works is that it's got a LiDAR inside the system, and then it locks on to the tag, and then it's just like our tag readers that we have on the cars, and then it collects the information and the speed of the vehicle, and then that is sent in to Blue Line, and then what they do is they have it set up where then one of the police officers that work for Tifton Police Department will have to go in and monitor it, and then they'll watch the video and see the violation and see the vehicle, and then they can click accept or deny. You know, then if they click accept, what happens is then the person receives a ticket and through the mail, and then also within that ticket, they also have the capabilities of clicking on a link and seeing their vehicle going through this school zone and seeing the speed that they're traveling. And so then they can either mail it in and pay it, but if they request a hearing, it's more like a civil hearing, it's not like a criminal hearing. Then there'll be a hearing set up here at with our courtroom and with our judge, and then they'll come in and then they'll present their case, and then the officer will present the citation, and then it decides at that point, you know, whether or not they pay the fine or not pay the fine if they're not. And that's how it works. If we did it, what would happen is Blue Line would get with DOT, and then they would do all the licensing and everything and handle that. And then if DOT approves it, because DOT will look to see if it's necessary in that school zone to have that. And then if they approve it, then the first 30 days of that the cameras there will be all warnings. And then also, Blue Line also does education on the speeding and things like that. And they also do notices to parents and the school officials and then citizens that drive through there. They'll do Facebook posts, everything to let them know that those cameras are present. And I think that's basically it, just to give you an overview of how it works and what we found during the speed study. I was interested to know just for my general knowledge, because we do get calls, we do get complaints, and just to see just what's actually going on.
Thanks, Chief. Yeah, that's a lot of information. Mayor, Council, Chief and I've had a couple conversations about this. This is for informational purposes only, and for folks with the media, we are not implementing this. We wanted to bring this forward because, as the Chief said, we do have a lot of complaints with school zones, and these particular companies actually look at safety. And that's all we're keyed in on as far as the school zones themselves. So the ratios and statistics speak for themselves. But we wanted to give you a snapshot of really what's out there, technology and capabilities with regards to safety, and then how it interfaces with the police department. Obviously, it is a camera, and yes, there are fines associated with it. But again, it's something that if you want us to look into a little further, then we can certainly do so. So I'll open it up for questions.
We need to move forward. Paul, I'm concerned quickly. I mean, this, you know, those numbers, you know, and safety's my thing, but there's nothing more important than the life of a child. And we're remiss if next week somebody's speeding and they kill one. And we're sitting here talking, you know, I mean, glad you brought it. You know, I wish we had it last year or the year before. As far as I'm concerned, we need to move forward and get those areas that are the largest offenders first. I mean, because that's the most important thing we do, is providing the safety for the residents.
You were I'm just assuming that the system is a cost for the system, or is it a cost to us, or how does that work?
Actually, there isn't, right, Chief? There is no cost to the system.
Yeah, the only cost that we will incur is like the power for the pole. That's all.
Again, there's a lot of information, and actually what the fees are remitted, the money that the police department would receive, there's percentages, if I remember correctly. Yes. That money can only be spent on certain things within the PD. So it's, again, this is not a revenue producing action, not at all. This is not a camera, spying on vehicle thing. This is strictly for zeroing on school zones, and we have a lot of them here in Tifton. So that's something that we take seriously. And I know the chief went through it very, very fastly, but I wanted to bring to your attention really quick the stats for 8th Street one more time. On 8th Street School, between the hours, as I found this kind of alarming, 8th Street from 7:30 to 8:30 in the morning, this is a 5-day period, 68% of the cars were speeding. So
put
again,
the camera up tomorrow.
Statistics don't lie, but there's a lot of, and again, Chief and I have talked about this. We wanted to introduce it to you because it is pretty serious. I mean, with this, I know the Board of Education would certainly appreciate it, but this is something that's outside of the PD, and we just wanted to share that with you.
Well, now we know it. I mean, that's the problem.
Yeah.
And realize I come from the private sector, and if I said do this tomorrow, it's done tomorrow, somebody gets fired. I realize that, you know, government doesn't work that way. But with those kind of numbers, why we wouldn't move forward and immediately do something, and I don't care about this fine and whatever. If you're speeding through there, guess what? You're gonna get a ticket and you're gonna get fined, and if it happens, we ought to have something, if it happens multiple times, take your dang driver's license away. Because I go there and see them all the time. They blow your doors off if you go by, and I have no patience with that.
I know you said that once they're ticketed, if they want to oppose, they can just mail in the fine, or they can oppose the ticket and come into the municipal court, just as any other ticketed person. I mean, can the court, is there anything we need to deal with from the court standpoint of hand? I just want to make sure we're thinking through all the next steps if we.
Well, what we would do is, we would set up a particular day for them to come in.
Gotcha.
I don't think they would come in just on a regular court
Regular
day.
court
They
day,
would,
okay.
it'd be a hearing set up, and they would probably come like on the trial
Sure.
day.
Okay.
And is Blue Line the only solution company that does this, or is it other companies out there, or
There-
is Blue Line top of the line?
Yeah, there are a few, but Blue Line, they're pretty good with this application. There's a lot of articles in Georgia about cameras and, you know, taking pictures of license plates. That, again, we're not out running radar on the main roads or in 75 with cameras. This is particularly designed for school zones. So I would say that Blue Line has a really good reputation. There's many cities that do use them, and it has worked, so.
Okay. All right. Thank you,
We had
Steve,
this
I think.
before, some years back.
Uh-huh.
We did have a company that was, I can't remember the name of the company. And basically, we're getting the folks really coming off of 75,
Right,
82
I remember
in that
that.
area.
Mhm.
And I can't remember why we decided to discontinue that,
Mhm.
that company. But I think that Steve's given a lot of information, talking about a civil hearing and things of that nature. So I think it's a good idea. I can get with Steve and kind of get with Pete and kind of look at what the proposals are and how it would
Okay.
actually work and see how we
Okay.
put it together.
Okay, very good. And we have talked with folks with the school system to get their input yet? Have we done that yet, or are you just presenting now?
I have not.
Okay, okay.
It's
All right.
just this, we wanted to share the data
Yeah.
with you, and we'll take it to
Okay.
the next step. We sure will.
Okay,
Thank you.
Very good. Okay, thank you, Steve. We
Thank you.
appreciate that. Did you have another question?
I can't, my screen, I'm getting,
Oh, okay. User error.
there's a short between the
Okay.
chair and the keyboard.
All right, our next item on our agenda concerns a
do you need him?
resolution.
Steve.
Stephen.
Oh,
I think
Steve.
Joe has issues.
No, I thought he was coming to see me.
Oh, I thought so too, okay.
Me too.
Okay, Jessica, do you want to talk about the enterprise zone for Baxley Properties and Investments on 333 Commerce Way?
This is on Commerce Way. It is beside where the Gap is now, or it's one of those buildings. It's currently not operating. It's empty. In the front portion, facing Commerce Way, he is planning to put 2 retail type or commercial spaces there. And in the back portion, it would be 2 apartment complex, or 2 residential units. And I believe they're both 2-bedroom, 2-bath.
Okay.
And so he meets the qualifications of the enterprise zone, and we have made the recommendation for awarding based on our schedule that we adopted a few years ago.
Okay, and those plans are in our packet, and the details are there. Does anyone have any questions concerning Mr. Baxley's application? Everybody good? Yep. Okay, all right, thank you, Jessica. All right, Rob, you want to talk about the ordinance amending our city charter?
Yes, Mayor and Council. As you're aware, a couple of months ago, we were working on adopting a particular ordinance, and we discovered that there's a conflict between the Code of Ordinances and our city charter. Our Code of Ordinances allow for the adoption of an ordinance upon 1 reading. However, the charter provides that you cannot adopt an ordinance on the same day that it's introduced. So in order to make the charter consistent with the ordinance, I propose to amend it whereby it takes out that portion of the charter that said, provided, however, an ordinance shall not be adopted the same day it is introduced, except for emergency ordinances provided in section 2.23 of this charter. So basically, it would revise the charter such that you can go ahead and adopt an ordinance on one reading. And of course, then section 2-23 would be obsolete because you wouldn't have that emergency situation. I would point out that as we are doing today, this is a workshop. We generally workshop these ordinances. It's not something that, council has an opportunity to review these ordinances, but I think that this is oftentimes, once we discuss a particular ordinance, we have some changes that we'd like to make. The council says make these changes, which I do. Then we can move forward at the next meeting with those changes and adopt them on the same day that it's introduced.
Right.
So this will make the charter and the ordinance consistent. This will have to be done in two regular meetings. It will have to be published. That's all provided in the what I propose, as well as a publication for this to be done.
Okay. All right. Any questions? I think we're all understanding what this is, really kind of a housekeeping, making sure things are in line and there's no confusion or conflict between what we're doing and our ordinances and like Rob said, the city charter. So any questions of Rob or of Pete on that? Y'all good? Okay. All right, let's move on to item number 9. And Crystal, I'll call you back up to talk further about the mobile food units.
Thanks, Mayor. The Department of Community Development proposes changes to the Land Development Code, Section 50208, mobile food units. The department recommends including neighborhood commercial in the allowable zoning districts for mobile food trucks. Currently, mobile food units are allowed in general business and commercial downtown, and those are the only two zoning districts that they're allowed in. As you'll see on your screen and the screen up there are very few parcels in the city of Tifton that are zoned neighborhood commercial, and we've actually keyed this to the Excel spreadsheet that you have with you, detailing the types of businesses and residences that are within the area. As you'll see in this Excel spreadsheet, there are 9 residential units in all of the neighborhood commercial zoning within the city of Tifton. So very few residential units that we have. The types of businesses run the gamut from retail to law offices, real estate offices, hair salons, banks, business offices, convenience stores, to parking lots, tire shops, and churches. We really do have a variety of types of businesses within neighborhood commercial, and it is my opinion that food trucks would only enhance the value within this neighborhood commercial area. You'd have it expands your lunch options and just being able to grab food really quickly, staying within that neighborhood area. And as you'll see up there, just to talk about a couple of the areas that we have up here, but at the top left of the screen, we have Espresso 41 and Harvey's at the 41 area over there. In the middle along 12th Street, you have Taco Loco, the Pink Motel, that area over there. Then you come down 10th, 8th, 6th, and 4th Street, and you have the CVS, Destiny Fitness, First Baptist area, and then we have a few that are a little off by themselves, honestly. You have a parcel that's behind the old Fred's. It's a vacant parcel that's undeveloped. We have a residential parcel to the east it's located at number 30 on the map. And then number 29 at the bottom is a convenience store. So all in all, I feel like food units would enhance the neighborhood commercial zoning of the area. And the only changes we're proposing tonight are just allowing them within neighborhood commercial areas. They would still have to follow the same regulations of food truck units, so they would still have to be able to provide 15 off-street parking spaces, and they'd have to be 100 feet from a bricks and mortar restaurant. So this would just really allow it in one more zoning district. But again, there's 9 residential parcels within the neighborhood commercial area.
The 15 feet, did that stay in that?
It's 15 parking spaces if you're not in commercial downtown. So general business, and if this were approved, neighborhood commercial and general business, you'd still have to have 15 off-street parking spaces.
Okay, and away from, how many feet from?
100 feet from a bricks and mortar restaurant, so you don't have that competition there.
So I'm just thinking about certain areas, like in my district, are there any areas within neighborhood commercial that would meet those requirements? I mean, having 15 parking spaces requires pretty good piece of property, doesn't it?
Well, yes and no. So there are a couple areas that would be, that have the potential. There's vacant lots that are not being used right now, and people would use food trucks as a way to, if they don't have the money to spend $40,000 to invest in that building and get a commercial kitchen, up to speed, they could put a food truck out there. There's also CVS, if, they'll allow their parking spaces. There's Harvey's, there's the Old Fred's. I mean, there are a couple of parcels, but again, you're limited to probably less than 5 to 10 parcels that they would be able to meet the parking space requirements.
I mean, I'm in favor of them. I'm just thinking through, are we putting this in place and there's really not going to be very many that are going to meet it in the first place? So.
No, we've been approached by a resident and a business owner that would like to do it, and his would be possible, but very few would be with the parking space requirements and the distance requirements.
Are they, and I'm sure this is in there somewhere in my memory, is there a period of time that they can stay? Is this more, they would come in for the weekend, or they're not going to park there permanently? I'm guessing.
No, I believe they're approved on a yearly basis. Is that right? A yearly basis.
So they could be there. They could be in the new Food Line parking lot for a year. Food Line would let them.
And of course, they have to have approval from the business owner where they are locating, and then the health department for their actual food truck unit.
All right, any other questions of Crystal regarding this proposal, this proposed change? Okay, all right, thank you, Crystal.
Thank
Good
you.
job, thank you. Okay. Pete, what you got for the city manager report?
Okay, thanks, Mayor. Just a couple things. The paving of Second Street, contractor is downtown, so we did talk to the contractor last night, and it was brought to our attention. We appreciate it because these guys get into a zone they forgot to tell us, so we weren't able to put word out. So thanks, MJ, for keeping us posted on that. But Jeff did talk to the pavers today, and notices Kirsten got something out on social media. So it shouldn't be a couple more days, depending on the weather, but they're working at night, so hopefully we got the word out like we should. I left at your seat just a new recruitment flyer for the police department. Well done. The chief worked on this with Kirsten, and I know Emily has a hand in it, but trying to take a different, just spin, getting word out about our police department and recruiting police officers. And we had a photographer take some photos. Well done, and I appreciate the chief and Emily working on that, because we need to keep actively recruiting. So I wanted to share that with you. And then lastly, if you have any direction for Rob and I on how you want to continue through May with masks, the governor's order was changed a little bit on May the 1st. So if you want to see it through to May and then take it up in June, or if you want us to look at something, I just don't want to ask your opinion on that. It loosened up on the gatherings, the bars, the restaurants, movie theaters, gatherings, etc. So I'm just throwing that out there if you had any input. I know there's no guidance on that, so we have to use best judgment. But I wanted to get some input from you.
I've been getting a few requests. I know for the parks, we did open up the
parks are open. Bathrooms, not yet.
Yeah, so that was the thing. They were saying, we got pavilion open, but you got kids and they need to use the potty. And when you're trying to be a pavilion with a party, and then I can't use the potty, they can't take the kids to the potty. So we need to try to, we need to need to open them up so we can let kids go to the restroom or somebody.
It's, again, it's all hand in hand. I don't really understand some of the sections of the order itself, but it's, we're caught in a pinch because if we have certain things that we're gonna need to meet.
You can't follow
That is higher up.
You can't follow the guidelines. I think the CDC guidelines for restrooms to be open, I don't think we have the manpower to clean them like they say, and so I think what Pete and I talked about that too. But we can't clean them enough to follow the guidelines, yet we want to open the park for those people. It's a tough thing.
Yeah, so, you wanna, the next probably thing would probably looking at is masks in city buildings. That would be next, and then, to opening,
Well, didn't the executive order allow for, in restaurants, they're not required to be masked anymore, the staff, the wait staff and everything is,
Yeah, that's
they
correct.
don't have to wear masks
That's right.
anymore. So, I think and for a long time, even stores that had signs on the door, please wear a mask, that people were wearing masks, but I'm seeing fewer and fewer people wearing masks out in public. So, as they go about their shopping or whatever they're doing. So, I'm as ready as anybody to be able to throw these things away and move
Yeah,
on. So,
I wish
but
I
I
had-
would defer to the rest of the council as far as what you're.
I wish I had more answers for you
Yeah.
too. I don't have anything to offer. Again, on the peripheral, things are loosening up, but if you're ready to, if you want to set a date and go for it, then we could do it.
Do we know what percentage of people have been vaccinated within Tift County?
Oh, boy, I sent that update and I can't remember what the
I don't remember
number
what
was.
that
I don't know.
y'all know me, I'm a masker, I've been vaccinated, but I still don't want to, we hadn't gone 14 or 15 months, to all of a sudden drop the ball and jump out there too soon. I'd at least want to let's continue and kind of see, I'd like to get some data, if we could, because it's still being in a closed room, there's still the risk. And you've been vaccinated, you might not die, but I just do not be in the hospital either.
Well, how about if I'd see what I could find by next
Okay.
meeting, and then I'll
That'd be
report back
good.
to you. That's, to give us another 2 weeks.
That'd be
And then
good.
Rob and I could look at it and see if we could
Okay.
interpret it.
Let's do that.
Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
get
That's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Okay, all right, we'll go quickly through mayor and council comments, and then we'll wrap up this meeting and have our special call meeting. You wanna go first?
I'm actually gonna speak tonight,
Okay.
believe it or not. And we'll start with safety, and we'll start with the vaccine. And here again, it is very disturbing when I read these reports about this large group of people that aren't gonna get the vaccine. I've got people in my family that I've argued with about the vaccine. It's just mind-blowing. But to fully open up safely, we need to get vaccinated. If we want to get to this herd immunity, you've got to have 70% plus, whether it's 70 or 80, whatever. And at this point, people decide they're just not going to get vaccinated. So I would encourage everybody, do your part and get vaccinated. Dangerous intersections, we've talked about these. The city does what we can do about trying to eliminate these dangerous intersections, but I would ask the public, look at your yard, where you are, and see what's, is it something that's dangerous? Just today I went somewhere and there's some holly trees right there, kind of on the right of way, and you got to pull out there to look and before somebody gets killed, if it's on the right of way and it's blocked, call the city. Say this is on the right of way. If you've got something in your cut it back so somebody can see. The last thing you want to see is have some wreck in front of your house where somebody's killed because your bush is overgrown and that kind of thing. There's lots of spaces for that, so around town. Pete's favorite thing for us to talk about is trash cans. Even though I haven't called you in about 10 days about trash cans. But I did get a complaint over the last few days about trash cans staying out. If they can be seen, that red is right in your face. If it was purple and gold, I would be okay, but just having this red trash can out there, I just can't go with that red. So we need to do something whether it be some tape and they, cross their trash can or get something out there, because I think the ordinance says you gotta have it in by 7 p.m. the next day. And people in my district, there's an area in my district, they just got it. I think they must have carry their bag out there and just put it in the can and it just stays out there all week. Of course, these are the same people that the trash cans turn wrong. I don't know how they ever dump it. But it is amazing to me to just see the condition and to see these dang trash cans. But I have received complaints that it looks terrible.
Good, thank you. Is Crystal still here? Because it is in the ordinance, and I know Kirsten did a great video on that, but we'll ask code enforcement to go ahead and start educating, and I'm going to talk to Scott from Ryland just the same, so we could tag team it.
Yeah,
thank you.
It's dreadful. And the last thing is about our yard debris, and I'm getting a lot of complaints too. And I like the fact that they use that grabber thing, and there's a man standing there, and you don't have people hanging off these dang trucks. Y'all know how I feel about that. And I think he's getting better, but I'd ask you to talk to Ryland, because, and there's one district, it's not mine, I think it actually is the West District, they get lots of complaints tearing up the asphalt. Well, I stopped today and watched the fellow a couple places. He's gotten pretty good at it. I didn't see him doing it, but if we could put it on Ryland, if the guy realizes that he's pulled it up, let him tell Scott, and Scott tell you, hey, I've got an area here that we need to patch. I don't want the residents to have to call and say they've torn it up and now come get it. If we can be proactive, and it's gonna happen. And that's just part of the deal of picking up yard debris safely. But I think at the time he's gotten pretty good, but there's gonna be times that he's gonna pull it up. So
Sure.
if they could be proactive about that, I think.
Thanks.
Okay, all right. Johnny, any comments, thoughts?
No. I'd just like to thank Dr. Lewis and Mrs. Lewis for their contribution to the city of Tifton.
Amen.
And thank them. We all love them and miss them.
Yes, we do.
I forgot, did Councilman Terrell have a birthday this past week?
He did.
Did he?
Did you have a birthday this week?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Can we sing happy birthday to you?
No, that's all right, Jack.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy
man.
birthday.
Thank you.
Happy
Now,
birthday.
you gonna tell us how old you are? Or does Dr. Lewis gonna tell us how old you are?
They ran out of numbers.
Oh.
But actually, I turned 74 years old.
Well, congratulations and happy birthday.
Thank
That's
you.
good.
Thank you.
That's good. That's
I would have brought you
awesome.
some pumpkin bread had I known.
That'll work.
MJ?
Yeah, I just want to encourage a few different things. I want to encourage everybody to get the vaccinations if you can. Help everybody out in some form or fashion. Also want to, congratulate Jessica and on her municipal clerk's week. I think we also have our Teachers Appreciation Week going on this week for all our educators out there. So if you see a teacher or somebody in form or fashion of education, it's their week as well. I think I've seen that. Definitely want to also thank Dr. Larson and his class and students again for that presentation. That gives us a lot of help there. Also, Mr. Lewis for joining us to present his book and the good things that he's done for the City of Tifton and the community as well. Thank you, sir. And also, Mr. Ehlers, Councilman Ehlers, wanted me to make sure we also did congratulate Mr. Rashad Bateman. He actually got drafted this past week and the #1 round for the NFL. He will be playing for the Baltimore Ravens. So that is a good accomplishment for the City of Tifton.
Absolutely. Yes.
But yeah, other than that, everything's good, and hopefully moving along.
Okay, excellent. All right, well, my comments basically mirror all of yours. Thank you, Dr. Lewis, for being here. Thank you for being an inspiration to all of us. And again, thank you for your service to this community. And we're just honored to have you with us this evening. Again, Dr. Larson, thank you. Outstanding work. So, yeah, I know. I know. Students, thank you. And Jessica, we just always appreciate the work that you do as our city clerk, and thank you for that as well. So, unless there's any other business to come before us, we will conclude our workshop. And then I will go ahead and call to order our special called meeting. We do have 2 items under our special called meeting that we will be voting on. So we'll call that meeting to order, and we've heard about the amendment for the alcohol beverage license, or excuse me, alcohol beverage ordinance. Jessica and Rob, any updates you need to give us before we bring that to a vote?
Mayor, the only thing that I changed from our last conversation on persons over 21, where they're allowed to enter, I did add anybody that has a complimentary service license. And that's the only change that I made. That's where you can serve, alcohol complimentary. So I thought that under 21 could go there as well. So that's the only change that I made.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's the same as I presented it at the last meeting.
Let me log back in. We're having to log back in here on our computer screens. Hold on one second, guys. All right, let's see. All right, so we have that information on the amendment to the alcohol beverage ordinance. I will take a motion concerning that amendment.
Make a motion.
Make a motion to approve?
Approve.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the change. Is there a second? Second, okay, thank you, Johnny. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you. Our next item is the extension of the hazardous duty pay, which was authorized by Resolution 2020-58. Pete, anything you want to bring us up to speed on that?
Mayor and Council, I'm recommending that we extend the hazardous duty pay for police and fire, and again, through COVID, but I'd recommend that we extend it until, I'd probably say, I don't know if we need to do a deadline, do we, Robert?
I think we probably should.
So
We can always bring it back before council if you want to extend it again.
Okay, so if we could extend it through June 30th, then obviously this is funded through COVID funds, but I'll bring that back around at that time if need be.
Okay. All right, so the proposal is to extend that hazardous pay through June the 30th. Is there a motion to approve that?
Make a motion.
Okay. All right, so Johnny has made the motion. Will second, MJ?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I mean, is this one, I didn't read through the whole thing, and I don't remember. Is it because of coming in contact with people that might have COVID?
Working alongside, working in and around individuals that either in the field or with customers. So,
That
yes.
don't have a mask on?
That's correct.
And haven't been vaccinated?
That's correct. So it is something. I mean, it's changed the rules for both public safety, for officers and firefighters, and this is the least we could do. And again, I'd like to carry it through the remainder of the year, and I do have, budgeted amounts to do that for next year. So again, I'll see how the orders change, but I'll address that with you when we do our budgets.
And don't get me wrong, my question's not saying do it. But 5 minutes ago, we were talking about ending masks, here and now we got hazard pay because people are around people without masks, so they kind of.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to extend through June 30th, which will be the end of our fiscal year.
Correct.
Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Please tell me we don't need executive session.
Right, good.
Okay,
Good thing. It's a good
All right.
thing.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are adjourned. Thank you all for being here this evening, and I hope you have a good night.